Yo, what's going on, guys? It's gonna be my Magicka Nightblade build for Lost Depths. I want to start off by being a Khajiit. I think Khajiit's the best race for this class. You could go Breton, but I just recommend sticking with Khajiit. We're running 64 points into Magicka, so we have 25k Mats Magicka, 31k health, 16k stamina, running 4k spell damage, 4300 spell damage, 30% spell crit, 8600 pen with 20k resistances, 1700 crit resist. Running the Shadow with Jewels of Mistral Vampire Stage 3. We're running crit damage 47% and critical healing 37%. That does go up by 10% with Race Against Time. I think the Shadow's the best Mundus Stone for this by far. You could use a different food, but I definitely recommend Jewels of Mistral since this is just overall the best in my opinion for the setup I'm running. So now I want to show you guys the stats fully buffed up. Alright, so fully buffed up, we're at 6,500 weapon damage, 41% crit with 30k resistances on both bars. And we got 1600 magic recovery. Alright, let's go into our stats now. So for our stats, we're going to be running Engine Guardian. Since we're not running any sustain whatsoever on this build, Engine Guardian's kind of a must in my opinion. You could run Balorgs, but if you're running Balorgs, then you're going to have to put recovery glyphs on your jewelry, so just keep that in mind. We're running One Piece Trainee, and then Clever Alchemist on the back bar, and Orders of Wrath on the front bar. We're running 4 Reinforced on our shoulders, helmet, chest, and legs, and then medium arms, waist, and boots all in pen. You could run Light Waist here, definitely for the Undaunted passive. So you can definitely make use of that if you want to. I just chose not to run it, but light waist would be really good here as well. So since we are a Magicka based build, we're running all prismatic glyphs. It's pretty much a must on this setup. All infused weapon damage, all infused spell damage. If you guys are wanting to run Balor instead of Engine Guardian, you will need at least 1 magic recovery. I recommend putting 2, so I don't think it's really worth it at that point. Engine Guardian makes up for a lot of your sustain issues, and it's just very versatile and allows me to run comfortably with all infused spell damage. If you guys are feeling like you have a sustain problem, I recommend just running 1 recovery glyph on here, and that should cover it by far, so you don't have to worry about that. For our weapons, we're running double maces with sharpened Nernhone, flame, and poison, and then we're running weapon damage on our back bar with power on our restoration staff, so our heals hit like a freight train. Onto our skills are going to be Merciless, Resolve, Power Extraction, Ambush, Concealed Weapon, and Piercing Mark. Concealed Weapon is insane this patch. Whenever you leave Sneak or Invisibility, you now get 10% increased damage for 5 seconds. This is really strong, since this is way more than the flat weapon and spell damage that I was giving before. This is way more extra damage, and this can combo very nicely with Vampire and then hitting a massive incap into a Merciless. This is really big for burst, and this makes Magicka Nightblade really strong in this patch, in my opinion, one of the strongest classes. Piercing Mark here, they also changed this. Whenever you kill an enemy, you now heal to full HP. This is massive in sustaining yourself in 1vx, since when you get a kill, you go all the way back up to full health. So now you can play more aggressive, and when you get the kill, you don't have to worry about healing yourself. Your Piercing Mark. Anyway, so that's something important to keep in mind. And then Ambush for the minor berserk, minor vulnerability, power extraction, insane skill, one of the best skills in the game. It gives you so much for free. This is one of the reasons why I'm running Jewels of Mistral, by the way, because we're running Ambush, power extraction, and vigor as our heal. Since regeneration got nerfed, as I will show you, it got nerfed pretty hard. As you can see, it's quite a bit lower than vigor, so I don't think it's worth running 2 hots. Vigor's is better. This gives you minor resolve as well, which is insane. Your flex spot for this build, by the way, is Pierce Mark. If you don't want to run Pierce Mark, I'd recommend putting Shadow Image there. Healthy Offering, our big heal, siphoning attacks. You do need this since we don't have much magic sustain. This helps us a lot. That's also why we're running Restoration Staff, so we can heavy attack and get a bunch of Magicka back that way. So you just have to make sure you're using siphoning attacks good and heavy attacking in between combos to keep your Magicka sustain up. And then running Shadow Disguise and Race Against Time for major expedition, minor force. This is massive. And then Temporal Guard. I just ran that because I was dueling, but if you're not dueling, I recommend just running the rest of all. as your ultimate of choice. You could even run Soul Tether, but I recommend just running the Resto Ult instead. To our champion points here, we're running Master at Arms, Deadly Aim, Exploiter, and Duelist Rebuff. I recommend running these four for blue. You could run Fighting Finesse here, since we have a lot of crit. Definitely could see the argument there instead of running Exploiter. And then you could even run Backstabber here if you want a bit more damage, but this isn't reliable, where these two are reliable 100%. So I definitely would run Deadly Aim, Master at Arms, and then Fighting Finesse here if you don't want to run Exploiter, and then running Duelist Rebuff. Exploiter I think is still better because our Concealed Weapon procs it. And then our red tree running Fortify, Sustained by Suffering, Pain Refuge, and Survival Instinct. I wouldn't change any of these CPs. These are just the best in my opinion for red tree. Make sure you get all your CP passes and whatnot. For the green tree, I recommend running War Mount, Gifted Rider, Rasher, and Liquid Efficiency. So I'm going to explain to you guys the combo. You do a bunch of damage on this build, as I'll showcase on this poor mammoth here. So we're going to proc everything up. We proc the ambush. We go into stealth, pop the potion, and then you have two options. You can go into the in-cap, which will hit like a truck. So right there we did about 80k to the mammoth, which is just an insane amount of extra damage right there. We didn't get the crit on Merciless, but at the Merciless crits we do so much damage, as I will show you here. I won't have Alka. So without Alka it does 54k on the mammoth. You just do so much damage. It's kind of crazy. If you hit an in-cap, if you hit an in-cap into a Merciless, you can just one-shot somebody straight up, depending on how tanky they are. I'll show you the tooltip for this because it gets really high, and we have so much crit damage and crit percent, especially with Race Against Time. Our crit goes way through the roof, so we have 57% critical damage, which is just out of this world in my opinion. It's so much crit damage. So without about 25k, that looks like it. We do a 25k on our Merciless. Our healing is also insane on this build. We get 18k, we go out of stealth. We get this up to 20k, and this goes up to 33,000 over 5 seconds. So it's ridiculously high how much healing and damage you get on this build. The only problem is your sustain's a little low. That's why I'm running Engine. You don't need extra damage, so I don't see any reason to run Valorix with this setup. Engine Guardian's kind of there to help us out. If it restores stamina, we can spam Vigor and block more. When it restores Magicka, we just go into stealth and get our resources back. So yeah, make sure you go up Race Against Time up, by the way, the whole time, since it does increase your critical damage by 10%. Something important to note is we don't get the Hemorrhage passive here. Since we only get Minor Savagery, you don't get the spell one, you only get the weapon damage one. There really is no way around that, since I can't build for weapon damage because I do need the Magicka my pot gives me, since we're running spell critical pots. So that is the one problem, is you don't get that. It's like 6 or 7% extra crit that we're missing out on, so we would have about 48% total crit. And we're able to get that with this build, but sadly I don't think it's possible unless you want to run tripods, and then you would have to slot in Camouflage Hunter here instead of Pierce. But when you start doing on that, it's just not worth it at all, since Camouflage Hunter only is there for Major Savagery, and I don't think that makes it worth it at all to run. So with that out of the way, I hope you guys did enjoy the build. If you did enjoy the build, it would mean a lot to me. Hit that like button and subscribe, and I hope you guys enjoyed. Holy shit.